welcome to another Sims 4 speed build. My name's Lorraine, and today I have stayed up all night long building and editing so that I can bring you this build. This build is a Kyo Machiya. I think that's the correct pronunciation. It's based off of some lovely and historic, really interesting buildings in Kyoto called Machiya, and the ones in Kyoto are called Kyo Machiya because they're Kyoto Machiya, and there's a very specific way of doing these buildings. This particular one is functioning as an Okiya for several geisha that live in the building, and it is also, I did it to the best of my knowledge and ability, as much, it was based as much on Japanese culture as I could find doing research. So I did research it, but I'm not an expert by any means. So if I got anything wrong, I sincerely apologize. Another thing that I wanted to point out is this is rather large for a Machiya. Part of why it is so large is because of the constraints that we have in The Sims. So in order for people to be able to do all the things that I felt that they needed to do, it needed to be bigger than I maybe normally would have made it. In order to reflect that true Machiya style. Here I am trying to put some skylights over the kitchen because in a Machiya, in a traditional Machiya, they had actual holes in the roof to let the smoke out from cooking because they were originally built many, many years ago in the 1600s, as when I've heard the most. But I've also heard a gentleman say that his family had lived in the same Machiya for 900 years. So I'm not sure on that. Don't quote me. And let's see here. This is basically kind of just the main structure of the house. And there I'm working on the Gencon and playing with the new platforms. The new platforms are fun, and I don't dislike them, but trying to get things to stick in the spot that you want them to on the floor was difficult, if not impossible. Here I am making it a bit smaller. This particular build was, I continued to make it a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller, and then like change it here and there to make it fit better. I have not done any builds that were based on Japanese architecture or Chinese architecture or any Asian architecture. So this one was out of my wheelhouse, but it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed learning more about Japanese culture. I've always been fascinated by the geisha in Japan, which I think a lot of people are fascinated with the geisha in the district of Gion in Kyoto. I think they're so beautiful and just stunning and interesting, and I really enjoyed, and I think that this is something that a lot of people resonate with, is the movie Memoirs of a Geisha that came out in 2005. I love that movie. It's not perfectly representative of geisha, especially modern geisha, and what their life is actually like, but it's so pretty. And I love that sense of beauty that is within that. And there's something about the idea of a woman arraying herself in such beautiful clothing and painting her face, and it's just, there's something so fascinating and just captivating about geisha, I think. That's why I wanted to make an Okiya. So I did that, and I I had a lot of fun. It took a lot of time. I was up all night, as I said. By the time you guys get this, I don't even know how long I will have actually gotten any sleep. But I really did have a lot of fun doing this. I really enjoyed the build buy items in this pack too. I haven't done any of the gameplay yet, really, other than just what I did for the machinima, but I'm looking forward to doing that this weekend, but I haven't done it yet. But the build buy is very, very pretty. It's detailed, and just, if you're on the fence about getting this pack, I would just say get it. Like, it's so cool. And there's a lot of things that will overlap that are not necessarily just going to be good for Asian inspired builds. Like the columns in this pack and the staircase, they have this gorgeous wood grain texture that I have not seen in any Sim stuff until this pack, and it is truly stunning. It is so pretty. I really, really loved it. It's just really, really beautiful. Plus, playing with the new half walls, oh my gosh, just a lot of the new stuff I really enjoyed. The platforms I like the idea of, but they're a bit hard to wrangle. I'm hoping that they fix some of the issues with those pretty quickly. I know they're talking about doing a hot fix because some people, I think, were saying that their games are actually crashing. Thankfully that didn't happen to me, obviously, because I was able to build this. But yeah, that really sucks. I'm sorry to anybody out there who's having that problem. So here we're just I'm putting up some lanterns. Every single picture that I saw of the streets of Kyoto had those red lanterns. And I think they look really cool and interesting. I was concerned when I was building this. At first, it was interesting. The more I built, and then the more I built, and the more I built, the more it started to look like what I was trying to build. And since I wasn't terribly confident in my ability to actually capture this build, that was really satisfying to watch that development over time. Here I'm doing the bathroom, and one of the things that I thought was so interesting, because I watched several documentaries about Machiya, and Kyo Machiya particularly, was a lot of them had these windows in the bathroom where you could take a bath and look out onto the inner, like, courtyard garden area. And I thought that was so lovely, just the idea of being able to soak in the bath and just look out over your garden. I just thought that would be, like, so healing. One thing too that I tried to capture as much as I could in this build was the Japanese idea of wabi-sabi, which was to leave things as natural as you possibly could. So, like, there ends up being a seating area in one of the gardens that I intentionally used stones and logs and stumps for seating rather than chairs. I'm also putting lattices on the windows because there were lattices on pretty much every window. I'm not sure if this is true, but I believe they said that it was an old protection against robbers or ninjas, which I thought was very interesting and worth noting. I find them so interesting the way that they look. They're very unique, and that's. I was thinking about the sliding doors too, as I just put a bunch in, and how much differently that sounds than our Western doors when you hear a door close or open. It's just interesting. Here I'm working on the entry area. I believe it's called the Genkon. Please, I don't know. I could very well be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. So I'm trying to make like a nice little area where you can sit down and take your shoes off. And there's the kotatsu. That's the smaller one. I think I end up using a larger one for the dining room. And I really love the fireplaces that came in this pack. They're so interesting. And I love interesting fireplaces. And there was like the wall hangings, and it's just really, really, really beautiful, and so fun. So here, I'm setting up something, and this is pretty much purely out of my imagination. I am working on like a dressing area for the geisha. So there are 4 women living in this house. 2 of them are currently practicing geisha. And then there is a middle-aged woman who was a geisha but is now running the Okiya. And then there is an older woman who was a geisha when she was young and then ran the Okiya but is now retired. So kind of like daughters, mother, and then grandmother sort of structure. They're not technically related, but they all live there together. So I sort of wanted to make this area where the 2 geisha could prepare for their evening out with those 2 vanity tables, and then have a mirror to look at their beautiful kimono in the mirror. So that was the inspiration behind that. Now we're in the kitchen. We got new counters! Oh my gosh! And they were really fun too. I really like went to town cluttering the inside of those counters. I didn't show all of it because I did it for a really long time because I was having so much fun. But so yeah, there's like pots and pans and like cookbooks and stuff like all up in those counters. I've filled them up. You can kind of see it there. But yeah, like I really enjoyed all of the new shelves. That one on the left there, that new shelf, and they're so pretty, and it's things that I personally just find attractive and that I would like to even have. I really enjoyed this kitchen. It's probably my favorite one I've done in a long time. And I think a really big part of that is the new items and the feel that they have. So this is like the downstairs living space, where I just imagine that the 4 ladies could come and hang out and read. I didn't put a TV in this house, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe in my mind, geisha are more historical than modern, which is not true. So you can put a TV in. I'm sure they have TV. Like, that's not. Like I said, I'm very much influenced by Memoirs of a Geisha, which is not based even on modern geisha. It's based on geisha from the 1930s, and it's not 100% historically accurate. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I am definitely not an expert, and I did put a lot of time in, but still not an expert. I tried to at least be faithful to the inspiration, because I think it's important to do that, to make sure that you try your best with the time you have if you're going to do something like this. That's part of why I haven't done an Asian build, is because they are so much different from what I'm used to, but I think they're so beautiful, and it was really fun to really dive into that cultural piece that I didn't really know that much about. One thing I tried to do with these geisha, because geisha I believe means artist, I tried to put items in each of their rooms that were unique to a particular type of art. Like one, I was in a literal painting setup, and then I really wish that we had gotten some Japanese instruments as part of this pack, especially since one thing that I believe that geisha do as part of their artistry is play the shamisen. And I think that would have been really neat if we could have had a shamisen, but we don't. So I just used a violin to kind of represent like a stringed instrument. But yeah. I love those new little lanterns. I did actually put a computer, which is funny since I didn't put a TV, but it's funny because to me, like, if you have a desk, you have to have a computer, because like, how is it gonna work? Like, it's funny to me, like, how the world has changed, because when I was growing up, like, desks didn't really have computers. My grandfather's did, but that was kind of odd because he was ahead of his time. You know, this was like the early 90s. So yeah, it's like, it's just interesting how that changed. Here I put a platform up fairly high with a bed on it to make this sort of raised sleeping area. And it's totally functional, and it's really, really cool, and I really like how that turned out. And then here I'm working on the back garden area. These stones, aren't they like so cool? I really love them. They turned out so nice, or not they turned out nice, but they look really cool, and I quite enjoy the lines and the circles in the sand. I just think that's so cool. It was really fun to make this and play with it. It wasn't letting me put a fence around it for some reason, so I put a wall and then clicked and made it into a fence, and then changed that fence into the fence I actually wanted. I really like this part of the build. This is the back garden, and I tried to make it just really beautiful and reminiscent of Japanese gardens that I have seen pictures of. They are so undeniably gorgeous. I love looking at Japanese gardens. They're so pretty. I've made a few. I think the last one I made was in my build that I did for Ms. Griffey's Pointy Shell Challenge. And as I said, I'm no expert, but oh, they're so pretty, and I could just look at them for days. They're stunning. One thing I tried really hard to do, and which is the thing I truly love about Japanese gardens the most, is they have this look to them. Even if they were man-made, they look like they're not. I love that. I think that is the coolest thing. If you guys have seen my gallery ID, my builds on the gallery, I have a ton of cottages and a ton of like grass and flowers. It's something I really love, is that natural look in the natural world. So here I'm doing the inner courtyard garden. And you can see I'm having trouble making stuff stick where that platform is. And I put a little fountain in the middle there. It turned out pretty well. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys decided to click on my video today. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more fun, super plant-filled content just like this. Be sure to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when my next video comes out, and I will see you next time. Bye!